Engines are machines that convert a source of energy into physical work. If you need something to move around, an engine is just the thing to slap onto it. But not all engines are made the same, and different types of engines definitely don't work the same. Compared to other technologies we use today, it seems like car engines haven't really changed much. The engine is an old Ford Model T that has plenty in common with the engine of a 2011 Ford Fusion, but it's doubtful Alexander Graham Bell would know what to do with an iPhone. While communications technology has changed drastically, cars use the same basic principle, the combustion of air and fuel to create rotational force and move a car. But while the same basic principles that drove the first car engines are still used today, modern car engines have evolved to meet the power and efficiency needs of today's drivers. Think of older car engines as wolves and modern car engines as dogs. They share the same heritage and have the similar characteristics, but one does just fine in everyday modern situations, while the other just couldn't adapt to living in a city or suburb. Before we talk about how modern car engines are different from older ones, you need to understand the basics of how a car engine works. Basically, gasoline and air are ignited in a chamber called a cylinder. In the cylinder is a piston that gets moved up and down by the gasoline and air explosion. The piston is attached to the crankshaft. As the piston moves up and down, it makes the crankshaft rotate. The crankshaft goes out of the transmission, which transmits the power to the car's wheels. Sounds simple, right? Well, with modern engines, the basics still apply, but there's a lot more to think about. Modern engines are more efficient. Your basic gasoline car engine isn't all that efficient. Of all the chemical energy in gasoline, only about 15% gets converted into the mechanical energy that actually moves the car. The EPA says over 17% of the energy is lost as the engine idles, and a whopping 62% is lost in the engine due to heat and friction. Modern engines have a number of technologies in place to make them more efficient. For example, direct injection technology, which mixes the fuel and air before they're put into the cylinder, can improve engine efficiency by 12% because the fuel burns more efficiently. Source, U.S. Department of Energy, and turbochargers, which use compressed air from the car's exhaust system, compresses the air that's used in the combustion cycle. The compressed air leads to more efficient combustion. Variable valve timing and cylinder deactivation are technologies that allow the engine to use only the fuel it needs, increasing efficiency. There's a common misconception that efficient engines are underpowered engines. Keep watching to learn how modern engines outmuscle their older counterparts. Modern engines are more powerful. People are more concerned with fuel economy now than when cars were new, but they're also more concerned with engine power. After all, the first cars only had horses to keep up with. Now, cars are driven on freeways. Modern cars are also a lot heavier than early cars because they're stuffed with safety features and accessories. Today's car engines have a lot more work to do. They're carrying heavy loads at faster speeds. Even with their increased efficiency, today's engines are more powerful than their predecessors, even compared to engines that are just a few years old. In 1983, the Chevy Malibu had a 3.8-liter V6 engine that made 110 horsepower. In 2005, it had a 2.2-liter inline four-cylinder, making 144 horsepower. The 2011 Malibu has a base 2.4-liter four-cylinder, making 169 horsepower. 2011 Malibu is smaller than the V6 offered on the 1983 model. It makes 146 more horsepower. Even the current four-cylinder engine on the Malibu makes 59 more horsepower than the 1983 model's V6. Modern engines are smaller. Since modern engines make more power than older engines, you'd expect them to be larger. But if you look at the example of the Chevy Malibu we used on the previous page, you'll notice that while engine power increased, engine size decreased. The incredible shrinking engine in today's car can be chalked up to improved efficiency. Car makers have learned that you don't have to make the engine bigger to get the power consumers want. You just have to make the engines work smarter. The same technology that helps modern engines work more efficiently also means that car engines in modern cars can make more power without needing a larger package. The best example of this is Ford F-Series trucks. Long the best-selling Ford truck and often the best-selling vehicle, period, in America, the 2011 Ford F-150 is a textbook example of a smaller engine doing the exact same work as a larger one. The 2011 F-150 has an optional 3.5-liter V6 engine that makes 365 horsepower. The available 5-liter V8 makes 360 horsepower. As a rule of thumb, a bigger engine will still make more power than a smaller one. The F-150 has an available 6.2-liter V8 that makes 411 horsepower, which pretty much blows the 3.5-liter V6 out of the water. But the fact that a V6 can compete with a smaller V8 in terms of power is pretty impressive. As consumers call for a better fuel economy, expect to see smaller engines doing the work that was once reserved for monster V8s. Modern engines work smarter. One major difference between modern car engines and older car engines is that modern car engines don't work as hard. In an old V8 engine, all 8 cylinders were firing no matter if the car was idling or accelerating as fast as it could. Also, all 8 cylinders were getting the same amount of fuel regardless of how much work the engine was doing at the time. Today's engines have technology that makes them work smarter. Cylinder deactivation is a system that allows some cylinders in an engine to shut down when they're not needed, like when the car is idling or cruising. When more power is needed, those cylinders wake up and help out. Cylinder deactivation helps engines work more efficiently, since it means the engines only use the fuel it needs and only extends the effort required for the job at hand. Variable valve timing and lift is another technology that helps modern engines work smarter. Without this system, the engine's valves open up for the same amount of time and the same distance, no matter how hard the engine is working. That wastes fuel. With variable valve timing and lift, the valve openings are optimized for the type of work the engine is doing. That helps the engine use less fuel and work smarter. Modern engines have partners. Modern engines have a lot of technology that helps use less fuel while making more power than older engines, but they have one last thing that older engines just didn't have: partners. Today's car engines are not only sophisticated technological achievements, they're partnered with other high-tech components that help them do their jobs better. A 4 or 5-speed transmission used to be cutting edge, but today's engines are partnered with transmissions with 7 and 8 speeds. The more speeds a transmission has, the better it is able to mesh with engine power, making the whole drivetrain run more efficiently. Or, if 8 speeds aren't enough, modern engines are partnered with continuously variable transmissions, CVTs. CVTs have an infinite number of gear ratios, making them able to transmit the engine's power to the wheels in the most efficient way possible. In hybrid cars, modern engines get help from electric motors powered by battery packs. While the electric motor can power the car at slow speeds or run accessories when the car is stopped, it can also kick in to generate extra power when it's needed, like when a car is accelerating hard. Having an electric motor as a backup means that the car's engine can be a bit smaller and less powerful, which saves fuel. In some cases, though, car companies are combining electric motors with big, powerful engines for a performance punch. That was all from us today, folks. For more similar content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.